let's start with Benny. So first off, I didn't know this was coming out. I didn't know this was coming out at all. It was a surprise, and I'm like, oh, I'm going right to it. And I'm like, well, why hasn't Benny really promoted this? Why hasn't he said it's coming out and all that? And it wasn't until like several hours later after it dropped, he basically said this is something that I did 3 years ago. You know, y'all enjoy it. And I'm paraphrasing here, but basically, Prez, he made it seem like it was a throwaway. And I haven't heard a lot of good things from other people about this project yet. But as for me, I'm still getting into it. It's one of those where it's good, typical Benny for me. But nothing. You know how I feel about. Yeah, you know how if it was dope, I probably would have hit your line about it. Yo, you need to stop what you're doing, find some time in your day, listen to this shit because this shit is fire. This just wasn't it for me.
I don't care if you're at work. Leave your fucking meeting. Go listen to this.
Yeah, you know how I get. You better circle the block before you come home, man. Listen to that shit. Let it ride, man. Take the long way home. Hit all the red lights. You know. But yeah, man. What's the name? The name of this? Oh, hold on,
Pyrex Picasso.
Yep. So Pyrex Picasso.
It's seven songs. So I'm not too disappointed in like what I got, man. But like, yeah, it wasn't nothing to like jump up and like say, hey, this is the best, this is the top project. Especially after like timing of music plays a factor to it when you get something. It's hard to come off that Nas and then go to this. You know what I mean? And I was in the mode, man. I'm in the zone. I was expecting nothing but like great, and it's like when they talk about it back in the day, like when, hey, I gotta go on stage after him. Like that's kind of how this felt. Like,
yeah, I can't go from King's Disease 2 and listening to Moments and Store Run and something that was so, handcrafted for us to listen to, and then for you to just put this out, and then on the heels of that. So my second point is, everybody that's listening, this could start being bad for Benny because Trust the Sopranos, that was some mid, and then now this, and then you coming on your social media saying essentially it was just something you put out, you made a couple years ago, and whoever he made it with, he's probably doing a good solid for the producer because there's one producer on here, and I want to name him as we go through it in the credits. It's called Chop LaRock and Rare Skrilla. Want to put that out there because they did a good job on it. You know what I mean? I just think that it wasn't the best representation of where Benny's at now. You know what I mean? So this was just like some typical Coke raps, and you could tell when it's just something that you
could tell it was dated. It was dated material.
Invested in.
And then like that's a good thing. When you talk about stuff that just stands the test of time or that's just great rhymes, you can never date it accordingly. Like it still sounds good and it's still relevant even to. So for us to hear this and that we can tell that it's dated, it's a reason why it was like that throwaway or that he held on to it for so long. You kind of feel like this wasn't something that I'm holding on to. I'm waiting to put it out at the right opportune time. It wasn't his best work, and I kind of feel like he kind of knows that too.
Right, and that's why I think that he's lashing out on social media. So I know you're not on social media, and Iggy brought this to my attention, but I just posted something that he was talking about nerd internet dudes or whatever the case may be. Listen, Benny, I'm that nerd internet dude that likes to listen to your music and like street music that comes from the same thing you come from. So don't, cut your nose to spite your face because a lot of the nerds actually buy your music. You have to be able to take constructive criticism when you put out 2 back-to-back average ass projects with your name on it. And in my opinion, leave it on the cutting room floor if it's something that you're going to leave on the cutting room floor. You know what I mean? But when you get bad reception from the projects, you can't lash out because we've given you praise for the last 4 years. It seemed like everything you've touched and your team has touched has been gold for the most part. But you had all of them had some missteps in terms of projects, and I get it. You got to put out a consistent amount of stuff, but in my opinion, this is something that is
Yeah.
gonna come and go.
Yeah, I mean, if you dilute the product, like you can't get mad at people just feeling like, just trailing off a little bit. Like it's
Right.
it's not what I'm used to.
Put this in
And
terms
just
for
like
Benny.
just like you came up on your little point where everything was getting stale and recycled. We don't want your music to get in uh, that same little rut. You know what I mean? So hey, tell you step back up your game, get your pen, lock in where you need to lock in before that next person comes up and steals the spot, steals the shine the same type of way. Uh, I know I wouldn't be happy just ending on a short run or short little stint. Like you want these people to last, you want them to have the Nas type careers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I put it in a term that Benny can understand. Don't step on the product. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't stretch it out because soon enough, the fiends, the listeners, we may not get as high off your material. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what you saying, Prez. It's just like, but on the flip side, I'll give another perspective and shout out to Iggy again. He said something in our group chat about it that it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So you got the Isaiah Rashads of the world that drop every 4 to 5 years. And then you have the currencies that drop every other month. You know what I'm saying? So what's the right balance? Because some people say currency dropped too much. Some people say Isaiah Rashad, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Kanye don't drop enough. So what's the right balance?
It
Are we
don't
just
matter.
never going to be satisfied?
We are never going to be satisfied, but you got to find that balance on, hey, if currency puts out 4-5 of these things in a year, right? One of those got to be fire to keep everybody like, okay, well, he at least once a year he gives us something that's great, so I can keep listening at it. You know what I mean? And if you're the Isaiah Rashads and stuff like this, and you coming out every 4 years, there's no wiggle room. Like whatever you coming out with got to be like straight, because we ain't gonna hear from you in a while. So that's kind of. But the thing that's linking all these together is you got to have those wins up in there. You got to have those wins, and if you scratch them out too far in between, you kind of lose the people at that point. And so if you're, like I said, too far in between, so if you're the 3-year, 4-year dropper, every project has to be that one. You know what I mean? But if you're the one that's every year, 2 to 3 times a year, one got to be fire. So the next 2 could be okay, just keep everybody on the hook. So if we talking about Benny in this manner, he gave us one. Last 2 been all right, cool. Whatever you put out next just got to be fire, man. It has to be.
I feel you on that. I think, yeah, you said it. I couldn't put it no better myself. Like, you can't have that many F-ups in between. You put out something very dope with Harry Fraud at the top of the year. So, you know what I mean? Like these throwaways are unnecessary to the catalog. And if you do too many of them, then you may start to get a lot of the critique and like, oh, I don't think Benny's falling off by no means. He's doing a lot of great things. He had the NBA commercial on the draft, and he started late in his career. So, anyway, enough about this.
I just want to throw one part on that. It was just like, if you constantly do this, I don't care that it came out 3 years ago, that you did it 3 years ago.
Don't matter to me.
First time I'm hearing it is now. So I can only grade you on like what you dropped now. Like I ain't got nothing else. Like you can't tell me this was 3 years ago. It wasn't put out 3 years ago. It was put out now. So when I listen to it, this is what I get. So if you didn't want to get your damn time machine, go back and drop it when it was supposed to drop. Other than that, shit came out this year, in my opinion.